So Johnny said last Sunday that we would be making an announcement in response to the government opening up society again, and this is that announcement. So we're now at the stage where churches can meet, up to 50 people can meet for a worship service in church. Now that's subject to social distancing, wearing masks, no congregational singing, no separate kids' church, so the kids have to be with parents, contact tracing and everything that goes with that. So we are talking about a return to in-person services being on the horizon, but it will be gradual and it'll be a slow series of steps. So it might be quite a while before COVID is fully in our rear view mirror. And these first steps won't result in church being like it used to be. But it is an exciting first step for churches. It's the promise that gradually and eventually we will be back to meeting again in person like we used to. Eventually. The government are saying, let's take this cautious first step because COVID is still out there. Everyone isn't vaccinated yet. So this is a first step, but it's a first step that has some risk attached to it. And how people respond to risk differs. Some people in our community who can't wait to get back to meet in-person services think socially distant, that's fine. The vaccination rollout isn't complete, that's fine. It's a risk I'm willing to take. Other people who really can't wait to get back to meeting in person feel like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable right now back meeting in person. At least not yet. And maybe the reason for that is they want to wait until more people are vaccinated, or they want to wait until they themselves have been vaccinated, or they want to see what happens in the coming months as the country continues to open up. Or maybe because of the restrictions, they feel like, you know what, church online is a preferable option. Whatever the reason, they're not ready to meet again in person with the current restrictions, even though the government says we can. Now, we have no idea who's in what group in our community, but it's important that we find out who feel ready to meet and who feel like we need to wait a little bit. So what we want to do is we're sending out a really short survey about how ready people feel to meet again in person. And it's really important that you fill out that survey. And it's important because we can know where people are at about meeting in person and we can respond appropriately. There will be some other short questions on the survey. It'll give us a more complete picture of where us as a community are ready, the extent to which we're ready to resume in-person meetings. So we're going to use the Church Suite app and we'll send it out emails through the Church Suite app, and the email will have a link to the survey. So it's really important that you're signed up to Church Suite. If you're not, email Lawrence in the office and he will organize to get you signed up to Church Suite. Now, because of data protection, it's a two-step process. But Lawrence will take you through it. So email him, office@dublinvineyard.ie. Now, also, whether you feel comfortable about meeting in person or not now, isn't a reflection of your faith in God or a statement of your Christian maturity. It's simply what seems wise to you given your circumstances right now. Equally, preferring the online option as opposed to the in-person option with these restrictions of no singing and mask wearing, etc. That's simply a personal preference. It's not a measure of Christian maturity. And also, even when we get back to meeting in person, we will continue to stream our services online. We think that for the foreseeable future, streaming online will go hand in hand with in-person services. So when we do return to in-person services, we will still have our service online as well. Now, we have an additional complication. The YMCA, where we met before COVID, they want to wait until the vaccine rollout is much more complete before we return to renting their building for our Sunday services. So that means we need to find a temporary meeting place until the Y is comfortable with us using their building again. And this is where you can help. We've contacted some other churches already who have their own buildings to see if we can use their building when they're not using it. But we don't want that to be the only avenue that we pursue. So if anyone has a building or knows of a building that we could use for our weekend services. Maybe you have an employer who has some space that would be available, or you have a rich uncle who has property or whatever. Please let us know, and let us know by contacting the office@dublinvineyard.ie. And you never know, that temporary space may become our permanent space for us, our permanent place where we meet. So the journey back to meeting again in person has begun. It will be a series of gradual, slow, incremental steps. But even talking about it now is a start. The next step for you in this journey of us as a community meeting together in person is to complete the survey. It takes about 2 minutes. Like I said, it will go out to your email through ChurchSuite. If you don't see it, check in your spam folder. And if it's not there, contact the office and we'll resend it or see what the problem is. But it's really important that you fill it out. And if you could get it back to us by Wednesday morning, May the 12th, that would be wonderful. So I'd like to end by reading the prayer of praise that David prayed as the people gathered and brought their gifts towards the building of the temple that his son would eventually build for the Lord. It's just a great praise about who God is. David says, "Praise be to you, Lord, the God of our father Israel, from everlasting to everlasting. Yours, Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the splendor and the majesty. For everything in heaven and earth are yours. Yours, Lord, is the kingdom. You are exalted as head over all. Wealth and honor come from you. You are the ruler of all things. In your hands are strength and power to exalt and give strength to all. Now, our God, we give you thanks and praise your glorious name." Amen.